This is what the before and after looks like, and as you probably already know by now, using a stool is a great secret to Levitation. All I was doing was leaning on the stool, and then I photoshopped a different left arm onto the picture and a different picture of hair to add more hair to the picture, and also another photo of the ocean in the background. The first step I'm going to do is copy and paste the ocean water in this photo and bring it onto the main image that I'm building off of. And all I'm using is a lasso selection tool to basically just copy the selection onto the main image by drawing a large circle, hitting Control Copy, then going to the main image, hitting Control Paste. And I'm going to reduce the transparency of layer number 1 so that I can kind of see the best place to match it up without having any issues. I'm going to use my stool as my anchor level as to where to place the layer. And then once that's in place, I'm going to go back to the fill and bring that line all the way back up. Then the first thing I'm going to do is create my layer mask by hitting the little circle within the square at the bottom right, erase everything. And then with white paint over black paint, with using the paintbrush tool, I'm going to paint everything back in. And also use the clone tool in situations like this where my arm gets cloned back in. So we want to get rid of that by using the clone tool and just basically Photoshop it out. Then I'm going to just basically fill in the open gaps where I want the ocean to appear using the paintbrush tool. And you can see this is the progress of my editing job so far. So it's not looking perfect. I'm going to change the legs in a minute because I like the original legs a lot better than the ones that I'm photoshopping on right now. So what I'm going to do is erase away the legs from layer number 1 so that the original legs can show through. I don't know, I like the way that they're pointing a little bit better, and I just think it looks more fluid, and I just like the pose all around. So now that I have my feet and legs in place, I'm going to paint with the paintbrush tool with white paint over black paint, which means we're painting back in. And I'm just going to paint in all the areas that I need to fill up. You can see that my foot, I kind of have 2 feet going on, 2 right feet. So I'm going to use a clone tool and just basically Photoshop that second foot out. The next thing I'm going to do is use the lasso selection tool to draw a circle around my left arm from this photo, hit Control Copy, then go to the main image we're building off of, hit Control Paste, and I'm just going to place that over where my left arm should appear. So it looks like I'm just effortlessly floating, I can't speak English today. And yeah, so I'm going to move this left arm into place. I'm going to rotate it at first, and I'm going to rotate it again because I didn't really like how far I rotated it. And I think that looks pretty good right there, so I'm going to leave it there, and then I'm going to create my layer mask by hitting the circle within the square at the bottom right. And once I create my layer mask, I'm basically just going to erase the layer and then paint everything back in. When I say paint everything back in, that usually means I hit X on my keyboard to bring up white paint over black paint, and with the paintbrush tool, I'm just going to paint everything back in with white paint over black. And as you can see, I'm not doing the most perfect job ever, but I'm going to bring black paint over white paint after hitting X on my keyboard, and I'm going to paint everything away that I want to be painting away from. You know, remember, white is painting black in, black is painting away. So right now I'm painting away, and I'm just going to keep switching off between white paint over black paint and black paint over white paint. Now the next step is to use the spot removal tool to get rid of the stool. And I'm not going to try and erase it all at once because then the computer might get a little confused. So I'm just going to do one little strand, one little leg at a time. And that's looking pretty good. I'm going to use the clone tool to clean up some of those weird patches going on. I'm going to try to use the clone tool in this case on the right side, the bottom right hand side of the photo, but I don't really like how that's looking, so I'm going to use this photo, a different photo, copy and paste it onto the main image. Then, like with the other layers, I'm going to create my layer mask, completely erase from the layer totally. And then I'm going to paint the layer back in, and I'm just doing this so I have extra ocean space on the right side of the picture so I'm not forced to use a clone tool and have everything look super cloney. So it's nice to take, you know, a lot of extra background, behind the scenes kind of pictures because you never know what photos you're going to end up using. Like this photo, for example, I ended up using only a small portion of this photo in the main image, but it ended up making a huge difference. So I'm using my lasso selection tool to copy and paste the selection onto the main image, and then I'm going to transform it by hitting Command T on my Mac keyboard so I can stretch out the layer to the left and also on the top and make it a lot larger. And as you can see, I kind of match it up with the ocean line in the background, at least that's my intention, so that it looks like one photo, one fluid ocean photo. It's not easy to do a fluid ocean photo when you have a stool in the way, because that means you obviously have to remove the stool and then bring back other pictures into the main image to cover the stool, and it could get a little messy, but it's nothing a few pictures can't solve. So right now I'm using white paint over black paint with my brush tool, and I'm just painting back in. Right here, I'm using my lasso tool to create a tiny selection in between my arm and my dress. And as you can see, I'm going over the curves of my dress to keep in those little details. And then with the paintbrush tool, I'm going to paint that little patch back in. And I'm just going to keep painting till I perfect the photo and kind of make it the way that I want it to appear. The next step, which I'm really excited about, is bringing on the flying hair onto the main image. It's always one of my favorite parts of the editing process. I'm not sure why. I just feel like it brings the whole image together. You know, they say that the hair really makes the woman, and I kind of agree with that in photography. So I use a lasso selection tool, just like with all the other selections, to bring this layer onto the main image. And then I create my layer mask, of course, hitting the circle within the square, the little button. And now I'm bringing on some extra light onto the image. So I just use the dodge tool to brighten up my face and my legs. And I'm just clicking that layer on and off so you can see the difference. And then I'm going to merge the layers, save it, bring the image back into Lightroom, where I'm going to apply a shadow in Lightroom. So it looks more like I'm actually levitating sideways. And they don't have the redefine edge tool anymore in Photoshop for whatever reason. So I like to use I'm not sure what it's called, the little circle tool in Lightroom that you see on the right hand side of the screen. In addition to that, anyone that knows me knows I'm obsessed with VSCO. I use it in every picture that I do. So right now I'm applying a couple presets. I use like the first 3 in package 1, and then I'm going to package 6 right now and applying one of my favorite ones. I think it's called Porta 800. With 3 pluses or 2 pluses. It has like a strawberry kind of reddish feel to it that I really love. And after hitting the preset, now I'm going to adjust the preset. So I just lessened the blacks, and now I'm going to the darks and I'm raising the darks. And then I'm going to bring the highlights down because it just gives kind of a soft film painterly kind of feel to the image. This is the before and after. And now I'm going to bring the image into Photoshop, where I'm going to adjust the white selective color adjustment layer. So I just added more cyans to the whites, and that made a big difference. So this is the final image. I'm so glad that you guys have stayed with me on my Photoshop YouTube journey, even though I become absent a lot, and I really feel bad about that. I really wish I was more active, and I'll try to be more active on my channel. I also want to add, as you can see in the close-up, VSCO adds a really beautiful natural grain to the photos that I love. And here are some other photos that I took at the beach that I thought would be fun to share, so I'm just kind of throwing that in there. Thank you guys so much again for joining me for this video, and I can't wait to see you guys for the next one.